The Philadelphia Eagles have once again been linked to an NFL superstar, and although it would not go with the theme of Howie Roseman's offseason, should the Birds take a stab at one of the best defensive weapons in the NFL, potentially one of the best players all time on the defensive side when it's all said and done, we will talk about that and what it could potentially look like. We'll break it all down, but welcome in to A to Z Philly. I'm RB. And we started off with the man himself, TJ Watt. If you remember, we talked about this a couple months ago, and everybody said, no. Well, why are we bringing this up again? Why? What is going on? It all goes to the strategy of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And if I'm being completely honest, when you look at what the Eagles did last season, and you look at how they won, and how teams are starting to typically get younger and try to win with players on rookie contracts, the Steelers are a team that goes out and says, you know what? We're going to go the exact opposite way. We're actually going to bring the oldest players ever into the damn roster. We're going to build a team of senior citizens and try to go all in and win. This is what the 2025 Steelers are shaping up to be. They bring in 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. They bring in 34-year-old Darius Slay. They trade the other day for Jalen Ramsey. They give up Minkah Fitzpatrick. And they also bring in Jonnu Smith, who's 30 years old in that trade. But the man of the hour is 30-year-old TJ Watt, and he has been ongoing here with these contract frustrations. And we'll take it over to an ESPN article that details the situation. It says teams are mulling a possible trade for Steelers TJ Watt. But the most important thing is down here. Watt signed a 4-year, $112 million deal in 2021. That averaged $28 million per year. A couple months ago, Myles Garrett reset the pass rusher market with $40 million annually, which is still insane, by the way. Think about that. 17 games a year at the minimum, and guys are getting paid $40 million. Insane. 123.5 guaranteed money makes him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. So, TJ Watt, who's going into the last year of his deal, turns 31 in October, has not spoken publicly since the end of the 2024 season. He seemingly expressed frustration with the negotiations in April. That's when we talked about it. He had posted that cryptic Instagram story of him holding up a peace sign saying, hey, you know, I might be out of here if you don't reward me, if you don't pay me. So the question is the investment worth it? Now, in terms of TJ Watt, I mean, let's not be mistaken here, right? Like, you can't deny his talent. 108 career sacks, 5.5 more than Garrett, 6th most among active NFL players. He has won 6 All-Pro awards, 4 on the first team. He has won NFL Defensive Player of the Year, and he is a 7-time Pro Bowler in 8 seasons. All right, so this guy is on pace, statistically, to be one of the best defensive players of all time when we look at his numbers year over year. Right? Like, I mean, he is an absolute beast. He actually is the co-leader for the single season sack record as well. 22.5 back in 2021. The question is, should a team like the Eagles come out and actually try to get him? Why do we even bring that up? Well, if we go over to an article on CBS Sports, one of their insiders, Cody Benjamin, named 5 teams that could potentially trade for TJ Watt. And guess who's on the list? That's right. The Philadelphia Eagles. He says, why should GM Howie Roseman ever be counted out of big-name sweepstakes? The Eagles spent much of the offseason shedding salary, not collecting it, like we just mentioned. But now that Brandon Graham is gone, Josh Sweat, you can even mention Milton Williams, they're going to be heavily relying on the young guys. And that really is the mentality and the philosophy right now of Howie Roseman. But as we know, year to year in the NFL, things change, things happen, and you have to adjust on the fly. So should the Eagles try to get one of the best defensive weapons in the NFL, like he says here, imagine Watt and Jalen Carter on the same front. It would cost a pretty penny, but Watt would also get to stay in Pennsylvania to continue his career. A couple other teams he mentions, the Green Bay Packers, the Detroit Lions, the Seattle Seahawks, and really this one scares me because the Commanders were in the conversations for Myles Garrett. Please do not let TJ Watt come to this division and go to the Washington Commanders. I feel like that would give them a huge boost, especially with Dan Quinn and his background being a defensive coordinator, yeah, that would be dangerous. But in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles, do I think this is going to happen? No, I don't, for two main reasons. Would I welcome it to happen? Yes, but it would have to be at an amount that's lower than Myles Garrett, maybe significantly lower, which is not going to happen. And the Eagles would also have to give up a ton of draft capital, which I also do not see happen. So really, I don't see a way that this could happen. If we go to reason number one and we look at the contract situation, it gets pretty interesting, right? Because again, TJ Watt going into the last year of a deal, and no player like TJ Watt wants to go into the last year without any guarantees of what his next year will look like, right? So he wants a big time payday. He just saw Myles Garrett and Danielle Hunter and some of these other guys getting paid. He's like, where's my payday? You know, and if we look at the edge rushers right now in the NFL, Nick Bosa has the most value on his contract, 170 mil, but Myles Garrett just got 160 mil, most of it guaranteed. And you look at the average per year salary, Myles Garrett completely reset the market at 40. Now, Myles Garrett is also a couple years younger, so I do not think that TJ Watt would get upwards of, 40, 45 million per year. Sure, his agent is probably going to ask for it, but I don't see a team willing to give that up. We're seeing the same thing going on with Trey Hendrickson. Once you hit that age, and technically he's still in his prime, it just doesn't really feel like the market is there. A team would much rather bank on trying to hit on 1 or 2 or 3 draft picks like Howie Roseman has. And obviously, I think Vic Fangio really makes that possible, with the system of defense that the Eagles play and how they're really plug and play. And TJ Watt has primarily played in a 3-4 defense. So you could say it'd be a seamless fit. I still think the Eagles could upgrade and get a couple vets to help out guys like Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt and really just assist in their growth and their progress. But I just don't see a way with the theme of the offseason that Howie's going to shell out 40 M's to TJ Watt, especially when you have all these guys coming up that you have to pay. But the Eagles could always be a wild card. However, we look at TJ Watt's stats. What this doesn't show is that he's only played in 4 career postseason games, and he only has 1 career playoff sack. He also has an extensive injury history, and this is the kicker for me. If TJ Watt played every year and didn't have any injury history, I'd say, okay, maybe think about it, because again, the Eagles are trying to stay on that high horse. Teams are trying to knock the Eagles off of the throne, and everybody's going to be coming for the Eagles next this season. So they're going to need to continue to improve. You never know what can happen year to year, injuries, things like that. You need luck on your side. And one way to potentially harm being healthy is to go out and acquire a soon-to-be 31-year-old that is also a bit injury prone in his career. As we see here, Watt had a setback early in his career, 20 snaps into his second NFL game in week 2 of 2017. He had a grade 1 groin pull. He has also had other injuries in 2021. He had a hip strain, a knee sprain, pectoral injury in 2022. Then he had arthroscopic knee surgery, and he has had a ton of injuries. Even in college here, which I didn't know, it said that he had 4 knee injuries when he played for the Wisconsin Badgers, and his first knee issue in the NFL occurred in 2021. So yeah, he has an extensive injury history. He wants to reset the market and probably get close to $40 million per year, and he's 31 years old. Not to say that TJ Watt could not make an impact, because I think he could, but the long-term value, especially when you weigh it against the players you're going to have to pay, like Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, really just is not worth it and kind of muddies up that situation. So I like what the Eagles are doing now. I still think they're going to need to add more depth as we get into it moving forward. And if we really thought about how this could happen, if it actually did happen, let's say, what could it look like? Well, Spot Track here puts the projection at 4 years, $150 million. So 45-year, which I just think is insane. In this scenario, he would also get $10 million less total than Myles Garrett. But Eagles Eric here says that his contract projection is 3 years, $117, $39 million per year, 65% guaranteed at signing. So whatever happens, I mean, this is going to be really another game changer for the market. And it's also going to impact what the future looks like for the Eagles in the next couple years. When they want to pay some of these young guys, obviously, an edge rusher like TJ Watt, is completely different from Jalen Carter on the interior defensive line. I don't think it'll really impact that market, but who knows what's going to happen with Nolan Smith if he continues to take a massive jump this year. Who knows what kind of money he's going to demand in a year or two. So it goes with the theme of the senior citizen Steelers. I think they're going to keep them around and just suck it up and pay the money. But the more that this thing plays on, the more that we wait it out, same thing with Trey Hendrickson, the more these guys are going to feel disrespected and not really be so inclined to help the team out as much as they can. So those are my thoughts. I want to hear from you down in the comments section. Do you think the Eagles should take a stab at TJ Watt? Would it be worth it? Do you think that this could guarantee them staying on their high horse and potentially becoming a dynasty? Or should they continue to invest in the draft, build up the young guys that they have? Keep in mind, 13 draft picks next year. What do you think? What will happen? Give me your thoughts down below. Appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you all on the next one.